Dan Bilzerian, what do you really think happened with Charlie Kirk?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the video. Today we have Alex Jones and Dan Bilzerian, and stick around because later on in the video I have to take some accountability. I made some mistakes, and you got to own up to it. But we're not going to waste any time, guys. If you enjoy this content, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel. Let's get right into it.
Well, I mean, yeah, the idea. So this is actually one of the reasons I got into it with Nick Fuentes. I called him out the other day because he said there was 0% chance that Charlie Kirk wasn't killed by Tyler Robinson and that it was low IQ anti-Semitism if you disagreed. And I thought that was an extremely crazy statement, given the evidence that we had. I mean, look, I've been shooting guns since I was like 5 years old, and I've shot a 30-06. I've dug those bullets out of trees. I've dug them out of animals. I know what they do. And that is it's a bonded, usually jacketed hollow point or a full metal jacket. But the whole premise of a hunting round is for that round to not frag out, because you don't want to be digging little pieces of bullet out of your meat. You also don't want to destroy too much meat. And so the idea that a bullet would stay inside of his body and you wouldn't be able to get ballistics off the back half of that 190 grain bullet is just absurd.
Yeah, look, Dan is 100% correct. And I've never shot 30-06, right? When I was in the military, that's when I did most of my shooting. It was always 5.56, 7.62, 9mm, and a little bit of 50 cal. But one thing I do know is that bullets do weird things, but they don't do weird things that much, right? So when you're talking about a bullet fragging out like that when it hits a target, especially for a 30-06, which is a hunting round, that doesn't make sense to me. There needs to be an exit wound, and even if there's not an exit wound, you should find that bullet relatively intact. So I agree with Dan Bilzerian here. If you're not knowledgeable about a topic, you should be cautious about speaking on it because you're probably going to get called out. So let's continue.
And it also, I mean, look, there is a chance that it could have hit his neck and ricocheted down. I think it's extremely unlikely that there wasn't a massive exit wound in the back. But that said, there's just a lot of very strange things. They paved over the crime site a few days later. There's theories that it was the lapel mic that exploded and sent a piece of metal into his neck, and apparently a explosives factory that makes those mics was completely obliterated with a lot of the people still inside it. And what I've been told is that Joe Kent's plane flew over the top of that and descended 7,000 feet and reduced speed to around 150 miles an hour, which is very, very strange if you're not landing a plane. I mean, I would always fly my plane at 41,000 feet. Some planes fly at 50,000 feet, but you never descend to 7,000 feet unless you're landing at a runway. It burns a ton of fuel. It's totally unnecessary, and you don't usually use jets to go sightseeing. So there's just been a lot of strange things with respect to this case. I'm not saying it was Israel. I'm just saying that they unequivocally have a strong motive to have wanted to kill Charlie Kirk if he is going to be abandoning the Israel cause, which is what he said he was going to do. He said, I'm going to be forced to abandon the Israel cause. And that would be a massive disaster for Israel, because he was one of the last pillars standing, for Republican Christians. And he was historically very supportive of Israel. So
sure. Well, I'm not an apologist for Nick Fuentes. He's on Thursday at 1 p.m., just like you joined us here today. But, he grew up in Illinois, not a huge gun guy. And I think his thing is Tyler Robinson says he's confessed, and then you see the transgenders doing all this violence, including coming to his house. So that's what I thought up front too. There's all this transgender stuff. I'm like, well, you had all these transgenders the week before saying he'll be dead when he comes to Utah, and so that's why I was kind of like, hey, let's at least look at this. But now you look at, the way Israel's been behaving, the cover up of the whole case, all the rest of it. I mean, I don't think TPUSA is heavily involved, like some have said. But here's what I know. The vast majority of the public that I talk to, liberal, conservative, you name it, they believe Charlie Kirk was killed by Israel.
I don't know why Dan Bilzerian is saying that he doesn't necessarily think that Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk. Look, if there's smoke, there's fire. And I think there's a lot of evidence that supports that Israel played a part in the death of Charlie Kirk. And the problem is, again, a proper investigation wasn't done, and there's a lot of cover-ups that are happening in regards to this assassination that we can't get access to. We don't know what's going on with it. But you guys let me know in the comments below, because maybe I'm missing something in regards to what he's saying here.
So Israel's just understand that's where you are with the American people, that the majority of people don't believe a damn thing you say.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's talk about the first thing that Israel said, right? Is like, oh, we didn't kill him. Like, that's a very strange first thing for a country to say. And if you look at one of the most important things to him was us not going to war with Iran. In fact, he talked to Trump about this on numerous occasions, that he was extremely against the possibility of a war in Iran. And so if he was potentially going to turn on Israel, if he was adamantly.
Well, he was already doing it. And let me be clear. I didn't think about this until after he was dead. He called me during Midnight Hammer and said, "Great job, keep it up. That's insane. You know, these forces here, Israel wants us to go to full war. It'll derail everything. Please keep it up." And Kirk didn't call me a lot. I mean, he called me like once a year. But he called me twice. Then he calls up and says, "Great job on Epstein. Keep the heat on. We've got to expose this. Keep it up. You've got a lot of support in the White House." So, and later we have emails and text messages. He was calling other popular hosts saying the same thing. So he was really had a lot of integrity. He was saying, "Man, all the cliches about the Israel lobby are true. They're threatening me. You know, all the rest of this, I'm really concerned." And text messages have come out. He's like, "God, I hope they don't. I hope I don't die soon." He was worried about dying that day. So yeah.
Yeah, he said that his donors were, fulfilling all the stereotypes. He talked about how, it was primarily Jews funding the NGOs that are pushing open borders. He was talking about decoupling with Israel. I mean, he made a lot of statements. And the thing is, if you're going to kill the guy, you have to kill him before he comes out and is openly against Israel. The moment he's openly against Israel, you actually can't do anything because it looks so bad.
Wow, that's such an interesting take. And I never even thought about that. If Israel wanted to get rid of Charlie Kirk, they would have had to do it before he made a public statement denouncing them. And the interesting thing is that a lot of rumors are going around that Erica Kirk was a honeypot for Charlie, right? She was his handler. Because if you look, there's old videos of Erica Kirk in like CIA promotional videos and stuff. And so imagine if Charlie Kirk is laying in bed one night and he's talking to Erica Kirk about how he's thinking about denouncing Israel and that all these Israeli donors that are backing him are doing a lot of weird, nefarious stuff. She might have gone and said, "Hey, this guy's looking to turn on us. We need to get rid of him," right? And so I could see a situation like that playing out where somebody was close to Charlie Kirk, and when they realized that he was going to turn on Israel, they told the appropriate individuals, and now they start scheming to get rid of him, right? And this public conference was the perfect and probably the last opportunity for them to deal with Charlie Kirk before he went public denouncing them.
And he was reportedly days from that.
Yeah, and I find the timing very strange because apparently what I was told is that wasn't a scheduled TPUSA event. That was a last minute thing. Apparently his security detail was all brand new. And I look at Erica Kirk's behavior after this, and the least she could do is honor his wishes, right? Like she has come out and supported the war of Iran, which is totally against Charlie's beliefs. And and then she's talking about hat sales like a week later, jumping up and down, all excited about that. She seems like she can't wait to get on a stage. And it just does not feel in any way, shape, or form to me like a grieving widow. And so I'm very suspicious of this. Candace has been doing a full deep dive on it. She's 100% convinced that there's something weird going on. And as far as Tyler confessing, that's what I was told too. But then, later I was told that he did not confess and that he's pleading innocent. So hopefully he's not killed before the trial, because I'm very curious of what his defense
I was about to say,
be.
I talked to a reporter off record, another one on record, Elizabeth Lane and one other. They've talked to 7 members of the family, the dad, the mom, the grandpa, all of them. They say none of it's true. It's all lies. He didn't do it. It's a setup. He didn't confess. And part of the tape's been released. Candace got it, but I talked to people involved. They said it's more the family's scared. And so, again, I broke the news. Everybody got mad at me with the Candace thing. They don't have 12 colonels at a base the day before with her planning to kill it. The guy randomly goes in. I think that was planted disinfo on her to discredit the real stuff she was doing. I just got mad about that, said that. Everybody got mad at me saying I was covering up and just saying this isn't how it works. But I was told by folks in the cabinet meeting, and I said, why am I being given this? They said, you're willing to do it. We're scared. They'll know it's us. And so I came out 6 days after. It was like 8 days after. It was 2 days after the meeting. So 8 days after, 6 days after, they have a meeting, and Kash Patel's screaming at the vice president. The president's in there, Susie Wiles, Joe Kent, a whole bunch of them. And they're like, you're not going to investigate. He says to Tulsi Gabbard, foreign involvement, you're going to shut that investigation down, and we're not going to look at the treaty saying he'll be dead. And then 6 months later, it came out what I said was true. Obviously, it was true. So I've never been sitting here, covering up the cover-up. I just wanted to go with what was real.
You know, it's funny, whenever Alex Jones starts to dig through that conspiratorial bag, sometimes he misses the mark, but sometimes he's absolutely on target. And it's nice to see that he's been vindicated with a lot of the stuff he said in the past, right? And we kind of see the same thing happening with Candace Owens. She's on a similar trajectory as Alex Jones, where she is willing to ask the questions and go to additional links to figure out the truth, right? Where other people aren't willing to do so. So shout out to Candace. I hope she does good things. Sometimes she's a little bit off target. She's a little bit crazy, but when it comes to Charlie Kirk, she's not messing around, so I really respect that.
This is the biggest sensation ever, and Israel just keeps playing the part, and even Netanyahu says, yeah, we're losing the propaganda war, so he's just going to spend $760 million propagandizing us, which should be illegal. What should be done about AIPAC, the ADL, the Southern Poverty Law Center? You know, I wrote documents decades ago from our sources that the ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center, run all the major white supremacy groups and organizations, and I mean, so what should be done about this?
Well, I mean, that's what we have FARA for, right? Like, that's the whole point of registering foreign lobbies and making sure that there's not foreign influence in our government. We've done it for every other country. I just don't understand why we have this exception, for Israel, because Trump has literally admitted to, taking all this money from Miriam Adelson and from Sheldon Adelson, coming in his office and literally talking and lobbying on behalf of a foreign country. Like, I just don't know how that's allowed. I certainly know that I'm not allowed to, take a bunch of money from the Middle East or from, some Arab country or whatever to influence my campaign. So I just don't understand why guys like Randy Fine can take a bunch of money from AIPAC. And you look at the guy running against Thomas Massey, one of the last few patriots in office in our country, and they're putting in tens of millions of dollars against him. Trump showed up in his district to campaign against him. I mean, that's a pretty good litmus test when the president of the United States comes to lobby against the one guy pretty much single-handedly responsible for releasing the Epstein files, that has been, really just uncorrupted. I mean, that just kind of tells you the state of affairs that we're in right now. Is, I just don't understand how the president can justify, flying in to, lobby for some candidate that he has shooed in to get rid of the guy that's, kind of holding their feet to the fire on the Epstein files. I mean, that's
and for those that don't know, Massey showed all the documents I was aware of. I knew it was true, but when he said it, I don't just believe him. But they'd have a bill with all this horrible stuff in it. It would be banning transgenders, but he knew they would just take it back out in the House. So then when the bill came back, he put the provision in to ban the transgender stuff in schools. And the Republicans kept it in and passed it. Then they run ads saying he supports transgenders in schools. It's all lies. And tens of millions of dollars by the Israel lobby bragging to stop him, all because he did the right thing. We need to rally behind people like Congressman Massey.
Thomas Massey should be protected and cherished as a true American patriot. He has by far one of the cleanest records I've ever seen from a politician. And the fact that he is spearheading the releasing of the Epstein files speaks volumes to me. And so whenever I see people like Thomas Massey, I start to get hopeful again about what America could be.
So I'm glad you clarified from the clip I saw that you're not saying exterminate everybody in Israel. You mean you want to get rid of the state of Israel, but again, they have nuclear weapons. How would that happen? And are you serious? Because, if you want to join the military, I have a sneaking suspicion Iran would let you go over there and join their military. You're not serious about that, are you?
Well, what I was saying is that Israel is the only country that I've ever seen that I legitimately think that we should be at war with. Look back at the last 100 years of all the wars that we fought, and I don't think there is a war that I would be more excited about fighting in than against Israel. In fact, it's the only one that I can think of that I would actually be excited about fighting in, because they are attacking everybody around them. They're stealing land. They're breaking UN resolutions. They've illegally acquired nuclear weapons. They're terrorizing people. They're a ethnocentric apartheid state. Like, I just can't imagine a better place to go to war with. I mean, I would actually feel good about that. I wouldn't have felt good about Iraq. I wouldn't have felt good about, Vietnam. I wouldn't have felt good about Afghanistan or any of these other places, but I would feel really good about going to war with Israel. And I'm not saying that that's the answer. I'm just saying that of all the places that we somehow find ourselves in war, that would be the one that would be justified. The
good news is every former intelligence chief in Israel has come out against Netanyahu and said, stop this. The IDF said the Mossad and Netanyahu lied about Iran will fall in 4 days. Even the IDF said Trump don't do it. So I'm not trying to lionize Israel, but I don't think it's one totally monolithic situation. I think Netanyahu over 25 years has gotten full control, and I think really just level-headedly talking about these issues. And you know, Trump wants to pardon Netanyahu. He's pressuring the government over there. I think you're right. I mean, clearly they've got Epstein stuff on him or his associates, and that's why this is happening. But I got to tell you, I know you're a smart guy. I guess the clips I see, I mean, I've known you, I haven't known you, but followed you for years. Some clips seem really smart, some seem dumb. I know sometimes you're joking around. But you're a smart guy. Talking to you here for the last hour and a half. I know Fine is scared to debate you, but if you find out where he's having town halls or where he's, you know, at a public event, man, it's going to be pay-per-view. You've got to go to these events because that is going to be just spectacularly viral.
That's not a bad idea, actually, ambushing him. I hadn't thought of that, but it's a good idea. And to touch on one last thing, you know, I think that Netanyahu gets scapegoated a lot, but you look at guys in his cabinet like Ben-Gvir is actually way more radical than Netanyahu is. And you look at the previous prime ministers like Ariel Sharon, you know, Ben-Gurion. I mean, there's like so many of these people that are like literal terrorists that, you know, people just forget how long that country has been committing terrorist acts because everything is so focused on what's going on today. But I think it's a sick society. I'm not saying every person in Israel is bad.
Well, what happens is Yitzhak Rabin tried to have peace and they killed him. That's the reason it's sick.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Ariel Sharon and Netanyahu killed Yitzhak Rabin. Anybody that tries to get peace, they kill.
Yep. Correct.
All right, guys, I want to take a moment to have some accountability because I think it's important for me to have the integrity to admit that I messed up, right? So earlier today, I posted a video about Dan Bilzerian where I was very critical on his stance towards Israel. I thought that Dan Bilzerian was literally advocating for us to go to war with Israel, when in reality, that wasn't the case. I was just uneducated. It's just a fact. And after doing more research and watching this video, I actually agree with Dan. Out of all the countries we could have prosecuted a war against, whether it was in the GWAD or Vietnam or whatever, Israel by far is the one country that we would absolutely be justified in going to war against because of all the things that they've done to harm the United States. So again, I wanted to take a moment to apologize, have some accountability, and thank you guys for holding me accountable because I had a really bad take on that last video. Also, let me know if I should take it down or just leave it up. I feel like leaving it up is good because it shows my growth, but also leaving it up is kind of stupid because now that I've learned where he actually stands on that topic, the video is just misleading. So let me know in the comments, but let's get right back into it.
Yeah. Well, so, and I think that, you know, a lot of the society supports it. So it's just, you know, like I said, to me, it's not every person there, but their government is bad. Their policies are bad. Their supremacist mindset is bad. Apartheid is bad. Terrorist acts are bad. Attacking the neighbors, you know, sabotaging our peace talks, sabotaging our treaties, and forcing us into wars is just, you know, to me, inexcusable.
Well, even for the pro-Israel crowd out there, and I don't want to destroy Israel. I want to fix this because they'll destroy us if we try that. Or they'll take us down with them, the Samson option. But even if I could hit a button and send them all to Mars, I wouldn't do it. I want to reform this. You have to understand that at the end of the day, this is only getting worse for Israel. And it doesn't matter. You can see this is impossible. Where this is going, the more Israel doubles down, the worse it gets. And so somehow Israel's got to get its act together and stop this.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
All right, so you're back on the campaign trail today in Florida.
Yep. I stopped it to come in and have a chat with you.
What are the numbers showing?
We haven't gotten official polling numbers yet. I mean, I've looked at some of the different betting sites, and it's been from the mid 30s to 20% versus Randy. He's obviously the incumbent, so he's going to be a favorite. But we haven't really got the boots on the ground yet. This is the first time that we've really kind of started the campaign. Like I said, I started this last minute. It was one of those things that I just really didn't want to do, but I felt like somebody needed to do it. And most of the people in government are focused on what's best for themselves. We need people in government that's going to do what's best for the country.
Well, if you want to get issues out there, you're definitely winning that way. When's the primary?
It is August 16th.
Well, that's a long time. So
yeah, we got some runway.
Well, I would advise you to have plenty of security and cameras, but follow Randy Fine around and make like a live stream documentary out of it. And that's how you literally will sap all of his attempts because he's scared. So
I'm gonna send you a video when I find him.
Well, I would be nice to him too. But I'm saying, just bring up the topics, bring up his quotes to him. But I'm telling you, if you start shadowing him to quote, ask him questions, he's going to disintegrate. He's absolutely disintegrate.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to force the debate.
And I've seen him walk. I'm not being mean. He weighs probably 500 pounds. So if you get him in a parking lot or something, he's going to literally not be able to, he'll, God forbid he has a heart attack. So we don't want that. But the point is, you just trust me.
Alex Jones with the jokes. But it's not really a joke. The guy is actually fucking 500 pounds. But anyways, guys, we're going to stop the video here. Give me some feedback in the comments. Again, I try to read every single comment. I really do care about y'all's feedback. And I like to hear what you guys have to say because it gives a new perspective. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate you guys checking out the video. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel. See you guys in the next one.